number 17,006, Jeffrey Cusick and Stephen Corbellini, 117 Walnut Road, San Remo. Location east side of Walnut Road, 42 feet north of Highland Drive. The property is zoned R10. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 35 to 16 feet, 34 feet existing, reduce minimum side yard from 12 feet to 3 feet, and total side yards from 28 feet to 8 feet, 6 feet existing, reduce distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 3 feet for an existing 544 square foot bi-level deck, increase maximum gross floor area from 25 to 36%, 34% existing, for a proposed 37 square foot second floor addition.
Hi. You have your name, please?
Jeff Cusick,
And your address, Jeff?
117 Walnut Road, Kings Park, New York.
Okay. Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Right. Good evening, Madam Chairwoman. So we are seeking variance for proposed new work, 37 square foot addition on the second floor over the existing first floor footprint. That does not change the footprint of the house. In the process, it was identified that the decking, which we were told when we purchased the home was legal, was not. So we're also looking for variance on the existing decking. We've purchased a home in 2005. I've been there 8 years. The home was built in 2001, about 12 years ago. So sometime between 8 and 12 years ago, the decking was put in. In regards to number 1, the variance would not produce an impact to the adjacent properties in the neighborhood. The proposed 37 square foot addition is in the existing footprint of the house on the second floor. The neighbor to the northeast side is only a single story home and really has no, doesn't affect their views or sight lines. And the neighbor to the southwest side, their setback from the front is further than ours, so they're actually already behind our house and would not see that as it is increasing the front side of the home. As far as the decking, it has existed prior to our ownership 8 years ago. It has not had any complaints from the neighbors. The side setback are similar in nature to neighbors on both sides. In regards to the request being substantial, the only portion of the request we would say substantial would be the rear setback. However, our neighbor to the rear is Suffolk County Arthur Coons Park, so we don't anticipate there ever being any residents there. The benefit cannot be achieved by an alternative for the decking. In regards, we are on a hill that we do have a slope left to right and front to back on the property, so any decking that would exist in the rear of the home, if on the southwest corner was at zero height, by the northeast corner over a modest size of something 15 by 20 foot decking, would be over 36 inches, requiring a setback of 35 feet. The home only provides a 34-foot setback, so virtually does not provide us any decking without a variance. As far as the floor area ratio, it's a very modest request. The variance would not cause an adverse effect on the environment. We're not changing any, we're not doing any groundwork, foundation work. We're not changing the drainage of the home. The roofing was over the same existing area. The home was built only in 2001, has dry wells in both the front and rear of the property, and is properly, has proper drainage. The difficulty was or was not created by the applicant or former owner. This lot is only 4,000 square feet and zoned for a 10,000 minimum square foot, as are the majority of homes in the San Remo area, which I'm sure this board is familiar with. The items requested here are in the character of the neighborhood, as the majority of the lots are already 60% behind zoning requirements.
I'll just tell you, I do not have a problem with the decking in the rear, but I do have a problem with the decking on the side yard. You're only 3 feet away from your property line there.
Which side is that in reference to?
That's the south side, I think.
Yeah,
That's on the south side.
It's the lower deck, it looks like.
yeah.
The lower decking. Yes, so the lower decking at that point is at grade level.
I'm talking about the
Sure.
lower decking. I'm talking about,
The lower deck is the one that's at 3 feet.
The lower deck is at
what
3
is
feet.
the other one?
That
What
is
the
at
other
ground
one?
The other
level,
one's at 5 foot.
5 foot?
5 foot.
Okay. Planning?
See it?
Yeah, I see it now.
Just a word about the FAR. It's rather high, but normally when the board has tended not to approve such high FARs, but the lots where you didn't approve them were usually 10,000 square feet or more.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so I think you just need to weigh the lot size here.
Anything else?
A question, you bought the house with the decks on them?
Correct.
And the bank was fine from a CO standpoint?
So neither our banks or lawyers identified at that time. In 2005, I think the housing market was a little different and nobody did their due diligence.
Even though I believe you, the feedback we get here from applicants varies all over, that sometimes banks have amazing diligence and other times they miss things.
Sure.
There's no consistency as far as I could tell. Whether it was 2005 or after the fall in the economy or previous boom cycles or bust cycles, sometimes they're real sticklers and sometimes they don't they don't catch big things. But in any event, your attorney didn't pick it up.
That's correct.
Okay.
This is pending LWRP?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on this application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Rayleigh moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair, the next case on the agenda, number 17,007, Joseph Lamonda, 25 Dudley Lane, Kings Park. Location, east side of Dudley Lane, 104 feet south of Brockton Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 7 feet and total side yards from 28 feet to 25 feet for a proposed 288 square foot front entry garage, reduce minimum front yard setback from 40 to 37 feet for an existing 141 square foot porch.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Joseph Lamonda, Lamonda, 25 Dudley Lane, Kings Park, 11754.
Good. Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
I hope last is good. Looks like there's no one left.
I don't think you're last. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to build a single-car garage, one-level garage, next to my house. Since I bought the house in 1974, the garage was converted to a living space, and there was a deck in the back. Since then, I expanded the deck, and I built a porch, of which I do have permits and COs for the deck, the living space, and the porch. But unfortunately, with the porch, when I did the measurements and I did my plotting, I measured from the end of the deck to the curb, which was 48 feet 10 inches. As the gentleman pointed out, it's got to be 10 feet from the property line. So that was an error on my part when I originally applied for the variance for the porch. And I had the driveway, I had cement on the driveway, and I had the foundation poured back in 2004 in lieu of building a garage at that time. But since my daughter was getting her master's, I had to give the money to that instead of the garage. So here I am, almost 10 years later, applying for a garage.
Okay.
And I believe the pictures show how it looked back in 2003 versus when I bought the house in 1974.
Planning? Any- Gentlemen?
No comment.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Is there anyone here that would like to be heard on that application? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Everything's moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Good night. Next case?
Madam Chair, the next case, 1-16963, Kenneth McKenna, 10 Regina Drive, Comac. Location, south side of Regina Drive, 311 feet east of Marie Crescent. The property is zoned R10. The applicant requests a variance to reduce the distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 0 for an existing 65-square-foot shed, 96-square-foot shed, and existing deck surrounding pool. Increase height of fence from 6 feet to 13 feet, existing fence on deck wall.
May I have your name, please?
Kenneth McKenna,
And your address?
10 Regina Drive, Comac, 11725.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. For the distance for the sheds, I have no people behind me. It's a breezeway for the power company. It's about 200 feet wide, and it just runs for miles. The sheds are well maintained, has vinyl siding on it. It's just used for storage. The deck is in the same location. Then there's one more for the height. Regina Drive is on a hill. 14 Regina, from his back step to his southeast corner is 21 feet. Mine, I go from the southeast corner, if that's 0, so my southwest corner is 7'8". So for the height of the deck around the pool, I'm only, for my main floor in the house, I'm only 3.5 inches higher than my main floor, which is this here. One side of my house, the main floor is 12 inches off grade. On the east side, and the west side, it's almost 4 foot. So, because of the grade of the property, that's why it's so high. And it's from the front yard, my property line on the front, it's well in the backyard, it's over 100 feet back.
All right, let me just tell you that we were at your property.
Excuse me?
We visited your property. I mean, how does your neighbor feel being, I mean, you're only 3 feet, 3.2 feet, and you're 13 feet high, and he's
Well,
looking at 13 feet.
Because the property goes from, if the
I know
southeast
that.
corner to the other side is 7'8" difference. So to build at one side, the deck is only 18 inches off the ground. You run it level, and it comes out to 6'10", top of deck.
Planning?
The deck, the variance looks like that there are alternatives and that it's substantial, at least with respect to the deck and fence, and that it has an impact. And it is self-created, it seems. I was just looking it up now, but I thought the deck, how high is the deck? At that, on the, next to the neighbor?
6'10".
6'10". I thought it has to be 50 feet from the rear property line. If
Yeah,
it's,
from the front property line, it's about 100 foot back.
but from the rear lot line, I just started to look it up.
Right.
I thought decks over 3 feet high are not permitted in the rear yard. Just bear with me. Yeah, a section of the ordinance says that decks over 36 inches in height have to comply with the setback requirements for principal buildings. And principal buildings have to be, in this zone, 50 feet from the back lot line. That variance, I don't believe, was advertised, right?
No.
But assuming for the sake of discussion that it was advertised, it would just seem that there are alternatives, either regarding grading or lower decks, that would work. What doesn't work here is the fact that it was done without a permit. I mean, if this were proposed, it would be a lot easier to be in compliance with the ordinance. It doesn't seem fair to be more lenient with people who build first and then apply for a permit than it would be to people who apply for a permit. So I would look at this as though it's not up yet and try to see what's the balance between the benefit to the applicant versus the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighbors. It would seem to me that at least some more setback from the side property line is warranted. I don't think the rear property line is an issue. It's a LIPA right-of-way. Unless I don't see any issue. There might be one, but I don't see it. But it does seem like this is uphill from the neighbor to the west, and that it adversely affects their property. It should be lower or set back further or buffered or something, at least in my opinion. But I recognize that it was built, and I wouldn't want to be punitive and have someone move something just because they built it without a permit. I would recommend something that's fair as though it weren't built yet.
One of the things is, though, I mean, you have to look at it as if it wasn't there. Also, I mean, because as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely not something I would have approved if you had come in asking for it. I see that there's space to the, I guess, the east that it could have gone, where the property is higher.
Yes. The southeast corner was 0. To the southwest corner, it's 7'8" difference.
Right. Well, the point I'm trying to make is if you had done this in the further to the east, it would have less impact on the neighbor to the east, because I'm going to assume that that neighbor is higher, or at least level, where as you go further west, you're dropping down. So the closer you move to the west, the higher out of the ground you come, creating more impact on that neighbor. We've seen a couple of cases like this before, and we haven't approved them, even though they're built. So I guess the best thing right now is to try and find a suitable alternative. At least, as far as I'm concerned, I don't, just knowing how this board's acted in the past, I'd rather have a dialogue with you now, trying to figure out where this thing could be cut back, because it's something that I know we haven't approved previously.
Well, like I said, the neighbor on that side, the house has been sold. I'm there close to 40 years, and that house has been sold for, I guess, 4 times already. No one ever had a problem with it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that variance is run with the land, not with the people. So if we approve this, it's approved forever. So even though those 4 neighbors may not have had or taken issue with it, it exists in our town code to protect everyone equally. So if someone who buys it 10 years from now would be stuck with that if this board approved it, which, you know, it's not fair to ask somebody to live with something that this board approved that, you know, just because it was there, not, you know what I mean?
Suggestion is, I think, to me, and I think the board might agree, is the problem area is the high structures next to the side lot line. Granting some relief might be warranted, provided that there's some perhaps evergreens or something to soften the impact. I mean, let me just suggest a couple of things off, you know, shooting from the hip. One is lower the fence on the top of the deck from 6 to 4. Second thing is set it back from the property line, say 6 feet, and require a row of evergreens along the edge. Maybe that's sufficient to accomplish the intent of the zoning ordinance.
Do you understand what he's at with it?
Yes, he wants to lower the fence and move it in from 6 foot from
Lower-
the property line.
The deck has to be cut down 3 feet.
Excuse me?
The deck has to be cut down 3 feet. Are you just saying the fence?
I was suggesting the deck, but Mr. McKenna brings up an interesting point, because if the deck is 6 feet, although there's a safety issue, once you move the fence in, now there's some concern of someone falling off. You know, like, let's just say the fence is set back, and I'll make a number up, 10 feet in. Now there's 10 feet of area where people would be walking around
Yep.
in danger of falling over the edge. There'd still need to be a railing, a safety railing of 3 feet high or something.
The only way I can see it is cutting that deck back.
And the other thing, it provides Mr. McKenna a certain degree of privacy, having that fence there when you're on that deck also.
Yeah.
So I think I agree that it would probably have to be a combination. Obviously, you don't want to pick the whole thing up and move it.
Sorry?
Obviously, you don't want to pick the whole thing up and move it.
It's kind of hard to do that.
What if he cut the deck back 3 feet? 3 or 4 feet? And leave the fence,
I think that's okay. I mean,
and then leave that fence, you could leave that fence, but lower the fence to 4 feet,
And then plant trees
and
along
then
there.
plant. So at least you'd have 6 feet
Right,
for plantings.
something like that.
Right.
So you're saying move the fence back 3 foot?
No, we're saying move the deck back 3 to 4 feet.
Or
Lower,
just cut that edge off, and then cut it back 3 feet, move the fence back, basically creating a space that you could plant trees that would buffer it from the neighbor.
Yes, there is a pool there. I don't think.
It looks like the pool's further than 3, according to your survey, the pool's set back more than 3 feet.
Then
Is
we
that
have
not the
to.
case?
I believe the pool is only 7 foot off the property line.
If the survey's accurate, it looks like the pool is 7 feet from the edge of the deck. It's certainly more than 4 feet from the edge of the deck, if the survey's to scale.
I thought the survey said it was 7 foot from the property line.
It doesn't indicate that. It says the deck is 3.2 feet east of the property line, and then it does not give a dimension of the setback between the pool and anything. But when you look at the pool, in comparison to the setback, it's more than double the setback of the deck. So if the deck is 3, then the pool is at least 6 feet from the deck, or a total of 9.
you're agreeing with what I'm saying, cutting this back.
It might be 14 feet if you measure it. Different scale.
I believe he has a 7 foot in there for
Sure.
the pool.
Where do you see that? That's 7'4" on the bottom?
No,
Yeah, or 6 feet.
I don't think we're looking at the same survey then.
Yeah. No, no, this is 12, so you cut it in half, so it's 6. 6 from there.
From the edge of the deck.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Here's the
I was
survey.
just looking at the deck.
That's from the architect. Here's a survey, there's 7 foot. The pool from the property line.
That's different.
That's definitely a different survey.
This is,
Okay, it appears it is 7 feet
right.
to that edge. This isn't drawn to scale.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
This is not drawn to scale?
no. Is 5 feet enough
To plant?
to plant?
Oh, yeah.
Cut it down to what, 2 feet?
The minimum I would say from planting would probably be 4 feet. If you're going to have something like arborvitae, red cedar,
Yeah, but I just don't
Cypress.
think that that's giving enough of a buffer, because now you have 13 feet, or 6'10" plus 4, you're
right?
10'10" off the ground at the 4
Sure.
feet from the property line.
Well, the extra foot makes a big difference in terms of the vitality of the plants. Well, suggestion is close the hearing and weigh it. Mr. McKenna has said, I guess, everything he could say, and
Okay,
reflect on it.
okay. We'll close the hearing and then,
Well, is there
wait, let me see if
anyone
there's anybody, is there anyone that wants to be heard on this application? No? Okay. We'll close the hearing and then we'll discuss it and see what we come up with,
All right, thank you.
okay? I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Ready, move to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. See, this is what my problem is. This poor guy is looking at this whole
16984.
thing.
Is that it?
Oh.
Okay. That concludes our hearings for tonight. Thank you
No,
so
I-
very
I
much.
Wasn't even aware of that.